Hey, what's up everyone, I'm Andrew, and in this video we have the Alienware X51, a desktop computer. This is the first generation of the Alienware X51 series, released 9 years ago, back in 2012. So, I bought one of these computers, but I got it with some missing parts and in a worse condition. From the outside, the case has scratches. From the bottom, the rubber feet are missing, but the case isn't broken, which is a good thing. From the inside, the parts are in a pretty good condition. There is some dust and trace of corrosion around some parts, which means this computer is used in a high humidity conditions. Also from the inside, the CD-ROM is missing. I got this computer without a CD-ROM. Also, I got this computer without part which is connecting the GPU to the motherboard. So I had to use a PCI riser cable to connect the GPU to the motherboard. And I got this computer without hard disk and without a hard disk holder. The specs of this X51 are: the CPU is Intel i5-3330, the GPU is GTX 550 Ti with 1GB of video memory, and the RAM is 8GB in total. Actually, the specs are not bad at all, but they can be much better. Well, let's start and turn this computer into a better. And first, I will start with a full teardown. Because I'm going to clean this computer, I need to check all the parts and we're gonna make some mod and upgrades. Well, the teardown is complete. And now I will start with cleaning every single part from dust and dirt. And first I will start with the motherboard. But later I will clean any other single part as well. Also, I will leave the CPU in the socket, because to protect the socket pins. And while cleaning I do always check any single component, in case if I need to make some additional repairs or replace some part. Well, the cleaning process is complete, and everything is looking pretty fine. Now, I will move to cleaning the case and the other parts from the case. So, because the case has no electronics, I wash all the parts using warm water and dish soap. Also, except the case, I wash the heatsink from the CPU cooler and the plastics around. Actually, this process mostly have done it in a bathroom. And this is just to show what actually I did. After I washed the case and after everything was dry and clean, I start with planning about some modifications and a new look of the computer. And I want to do something simple, but something modern that can fit in any home interior, And to make all of that, I will going to paint the case, but also I will use an additional RGB LEDs. And because the case feet are missing, I will add a new feet that are a little bit higher. Also, these feet are from furniture. Actually, I received them with a IKEA drawer. But however, these plastic feet will do a great job here. So first, I start with planing and mounting the LEDs. The LEDs are going to be from the bottom side of the computer. But for that, I need to make an additional modification. Now, using a Dremel, I remove a part from the mesh and now to make space for the LEDs and the cables. Now I can place the both LED strips in the case. Now, after I finish with the modification about LEDs, from the bottom side of the case, I stick the plastic feet. Well, now we'll leave this part because the glue needs to dry, but until that I will move to taping the other plastics from the case and prepare the case for paint. Well, the case is ready for painting. So before I paint the case, first I start with applying a plastic primer. The plastic primer actually will help to make the paint with better quality. And after I apply the plastic primer, I paint the entire case using the matte black spray. But also, all over the case I create drops. Actually, this texture is very easy to make it. And I make it with gentle pressing the spray. And I let the spray to fall all over the surface like a rain. And this is how I got this texture. Now, as finish, I used varnish spray, which mostly is used over artwork paints as protection and shine. And as well, using the varnish spray, I create drops over the final paint. And with this, I got something like the melted metal effect and the fusion crust effect in one. Also, this paint always looks different from any side, angle that you look at. Now, after finish with the first painting, I start with removing the paper tape and cleaning the case. The case looks good, but now it's time for the next taping process. Well, the taping process is complete, so now I will paint the other side of the case. But here I will use one of the lightest shades of gray. This maybe looks white, but actually it's a very light gray. And here again I cross over the same steps and creating the same texture and the same paint. First I paint the case using a light gray, and then I create drops using the varnish spray. Also, the light gray shade that I used is a mixture of white and very light gray. It's a very unusual combination. So when you look the case from some angle is whitish and from some other angle is grayish. And because I use the same technique as with the black spray, the case sometimes look like it has glitters and sometimes it's pure matte. How can I notice on the camera isn't really much noticeable, but in reality is much different. So now everything is ready. But before I continue with assembling, I bought some upgrade parts. I'm going to install these parts while assembling, but now I'm gonna show what I got. So the first on the list is GPU. For this computer, I bought NVIDIA GTX 1050 Ti with 4GB of video memory, which is much better compared to the 1GB GTX 550 Ti. But also, this computer can be upgraded to something better, like GTX 1650 or 1660 and the 3GB version of GTX 1060. The other GPUs are supported also. I mean, any GPU is supported, but because of the power supply limitation, isn't really safe to use any GPU, especially GPUs that have a much higher power supply requirements. The next what I got is the RAM. Instead of 8GB of RAM, I will use 16GB in total, but I got a better and much faster RAM than the old one. The next what I'm going to upgrade is the CPU. For this build, I bought i7-3770. Just I received it in a different box. But however, that does not really matter for me. And I'm not sure are the K models supported, like the i7-3770K. But this one, I mean i7-3770, is totally fine. And it's better than the old one i5-3330. And the last on the list is the disk. On this computer, I will use a brand new 1TB 870 Samsung SSD, which is going to be a one great boost for this machine. Well, and now it's time for the long assembling process. Well, and the assembling is done. So now I continue with installing Windows drivers, doing all checks, making some customizations and etc. And after everything that we done, this is the final result. Well, now let's take a closer look. So this Alienware computer turns to be much better than expected. The design is still great and it looks very modern, with controllable lights from the both sides and the alien on the front. The case is small, so I can easily place it almost everywhere. The speed is totally great, and this computer is incredibly fast. The thing that really surprised me is the bottleneck. With the parts that I used and using a 2K ultra-wide resolution, the bottleneck is under 0.7%, which is totally ideal. So this computer is great for all daily basic things. Even video editing is possible. But also this computer is great for games. I mean, it's not for some high requirements games, but this machine is still keeping well. And the first game that I test is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In this game, I used 144Hz 2K resolution, and the graphics mostly are medium. And under the settings, the frame rate mostly is between 30 and 40. Well, the next game on the list is Cyberpunk 2077. So here I used 144Hz and 2K resolution also. Actually, in any game that I test, I used 144Hz and 2K resolution. So in Cyberpunk, I go with the medium settings. And under the settings, I got about 20 to 25 frames. But if I go with a lower resolution, like Full HD or 1080p, then the frame rate is between 30 and 40. The next game that I test is Hitman 3. In Hitman 3, I used 2K resolution, with mostly high and a few medium settings. And under the settings, the frame rate is between 30 and 60. Actually, it all depends from the in-game environments. Well, the next game on the list is Crysis Remastered. In Crysis, I go with a 2K resolution and higher settings. And under the settings, the frame rate is about 30. In Crysis, the frame rate is pretty stable, and the game is fully playable. Well, the next game on the list is Red Dead Redemption 2. Here, I go with a 2K resolution also and 144Hz, and the settings are mostly set to the medium settings. And under the settings, the frame rate in the Red Dead 2 is about 30. And the last game on the list is GTA 5. So here, I've tried to max out some things, and under higher graphic settings, the frame rate is between 30 and 60. And this is all about this Alienware X51 computer, and I'm very glad because all of this is working today. Also, if I go with NVIDIA GTX 1660, I will have a much better results than with GTX 1050 Ti. But however, the 1050 Ti has done a great job here. So this Alienware X51 model probably is old, but is definitely not to be put on a side and forgotten. Actually, this is still a great and a very quality computer. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope this video will give ideas and inspiration to upgrade, mod, restore and back in function some tech. Also, if you want to support my channel and my work, you can press the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.